Hello everybody and welcome to Rancho Coastal Properties Property Management. Today we're going to be talking about tenant placement and screening. So this is one of the first preliminary steps that we take when we meet new tenants, and we do it really well. We have a 12-point process that we use to screen tenants to make sure that our landlords, our property owners end up with the best tenants that are long-term and avoid any sort of turnover, because turnover is one of the most expensive things you can have as a property owner. So let's get right into it. So we refuse to believe that there has to be an adversarial relationship between the tenant and the landlord and the property management company. We like to find good people who have great references, who stay in properties for a long time and pay their rent on time. We want what you want. We want good people who pay their rent on time. So let's get started with number one. Here's how we do it, okay? So we're gonna go start with employment. So our employment is the first thing that we check. We verify the job status. We verify the consistency that they've been there, the length of employment, the financial stability of not only the company but the industry that they're in. Maybe the plant's getting ready to shut down. That's not a good thing for a landlord to find out. So we don't just take the applicant's word for it. We contact the employers directly, confirm that there's not any red flags or job changes coming up. Next one is credit. Don't have to go too far in this one. We all know that credit history provides a valuable insight to someone's financial responsibility. So we want to make sure that the credit is up there. We like to go with above 700. 720 is like our minimum for our tenants. And we find that when we place higher standards on our credit, they tend to stay in the property longer and we have fewer problems with them. So next one up is rent qualifications. So these are things that we talk to the tenant before we even meet with them at the property. These are things like we find out, ask them about their credit, ask them how long they plan on staying, how many tenants they plan on moving into the house, if they have pets or not, a little bit about their rental history, their background up front. So we find out that criteria, and that pre-qualification really helps us kind of get to know the person before we actually meet them on paper or at the house. Next one up is eviction check. So the any sort of eviction is a major red flag. So we run a comprehensive eviction check to identify any history of tenant removals. Next one up is landlord verification. So this is one that you got to be kind of careful on, because some landlords will tell you that they're great tenants and they never had a problem with them, and they have to say that because they're trying to get them out of their unit. So if you do this long enough, like we have over 34 years, you kind of know who's maybe blowing smoke and who's not. So, and there's a whole other way, there's a whole other host of ways that you can cross-check these items. But so we'll call the landlord and we'll talk to them and we'll find out about the overall tenant behavior, how the lease compliance was, if they stayed with it, how the payment history was, did they pay rent on time, were there any complaints. So that can be a strong predictor of the tenant's history will be repeated in your unit or your house. Next up is sex offender check. So we like to protect your property and the surrounding community by doing a thorough background check for sex offenders. The screening process is really important for multi-unit properties because we know there's families and they're tighter in there, and the communities with shared spaces. So we take that seriously. Public records. We review public records for any sort of legal disputes, past judgments, any sort of civil cases that indicate there might be financial instability, or any sort of problematic behavior. So legal issues like unpaid debts, frequent lawsuits, previous property damage claims can signal future rental challenges. So we want to be very careful with that one. Criminal check. So we completely comply with the fair housing laws and consider each individual circumstance, but we do a background check, a criminal background check, to help ensure the safety of the rental environment. So we'll review national and local databases for felony convictions, any sort of violent offenses, or any serious legal issues that might be on the person's record. Bankruptcy check. So bankruptcy doesn't mean the end of the world. If they had a bankruptcy check a long time ago and they're on sturdy financial ground now, we don't really consider that an issue. But if a bankruptcy is recent or it's unresolved, it could be a real issue, and it may be a concern that we would bring to your attention. But we analyze the full picture before making a decision. Pet verification. Pet verification is something that we like to do for the owners because we want to avoid any sort of damage to the property. So many of our property owners will have limitations on the number of pets, what kind of pets, the size of the pets, all that stuff. So we include the screening like breed restrictions, vaccination records, and past rental history with the pets. That's one of the questions that we ask the past landlord is about, did they have pets and how the pets do with the property. Next one up is collections history. So any unpaid debts, collection amounts can be a sign of financial trouble. So we like to review the applicant's collections. So any sort of histories with unpaid obligations could increase the risk of non-payment for your property, and we want to avoid that. So we look at the collections history just to make sure that they have financial responsibility. And the final one is income. So the tenant's ability to pay the rent starts with sufficient income. So we verify the income rent to ratio requirements, and we ensure that there's a cushion there, that there's some comfortability that there won't be any financial strain for the tenant. So steady income is one of the strongest indicators that there'll be a long-term rent paying on time tenant. Okay, so we go beyond just looking at stubs. We'll confirm the employment status, the length, time on the job, consistency of earning. We do all that because we want to find you reliable tenants. So if you're thinking about placing a tenant yourself, pay attention to these and try to hit all of them. If it sounds like too much for you and you need a little bit of help, feel free to give us a call here at Ranch Coastal Properties. We would love to be a resource for you. 760-822-1528. Mike Daniels, I wish you all the best. Have a great day. Bye-bye.